Gen Z is not the enemy. And as a millennial, you can lead Gen Zers with equity and with compassion and in a way that actually drives results. I'm Ashley. I'm the lead mentor with Mentor Me, and I'm going to talk as a millennial about how millennials can lead Gen Zers and younger generations and not drive themselves crazy. I just posted a thread from a well-known sort of public business insider source that said that millennials are having the hardest time leading Gen Zers because Gen Zers want everyone to care about their feelings. And I thought it was so funny because I feel like so many millennials are just now going to therapy. We're just now, talking to our parents about past trauma. We're just now getting out of abusive relationships, and divorcing past partners who harmed us. And now that we ain't got free, we are mad at everybody else for having feelings and don't want them to be free. It's like that classic cycle of abuse. You ain't got free, but now you want to be the abuser. You ain't got free and now you want to lord over other people. And it's just nonsensical. And so in today's live, I just want to talk about 3 or 4 strategies. I think 4 specific strategies around, as millennials, how we can lead younger generations with success, right? You do not have to be a part of their generation to lead them. You do not have to be hip and cool and know how to use TikTok to be a good boss in today's age, but you do need to know something about the people that you're serving, the generation that you're serving. You need to know something about them. You need to know, generationally who they are and how they show up in the world, and leverage that information to be a good manager and be a good supervisor. And I will tell you that I go in depth into how to leverage identity to lead in my Mentor Me Mastermind. It's an executive coaching experience for mid-level and senior level professional women. So if you are a mid-level or senior level professional woman and you're leading a team, maybe of people in different generations, maybe it's even an older generation than you, maybe you're leading a team of a Gen Zers, or what's the new generation, Alpha? I think it's a generation Alpha now, right? So if you're leading people in different generations and you're just like, I don't even know what to do with these people, it's not making any sense, I'm having a hard time, I don't feel like a strong leader. If that's where you are in your career, this live will help you, and we can go deeper into strategies around leadership in my Mentor Me Mastermind. So if you are a woman who would benefit from executive coaching, you can go right to my website at mentor-me.org. That's mentor-me.org to learn more about the Mentor Me Mastermind and how you can use it to advance your career. So strategy number one for millennials learning how to really lead younger generations is that you need to be able to care about the whole person, right? You need to be able to care about the whole person. And I will tell you that as a leader, this is something that I had to grow into. This is something that I had to learn about. And it's because at work, I'm at work. I like to focus on my work. I like to be structured. I don't like a lot of small talking about the weather, talk about people's weekends. That's just not how I like to position myself at work. I'm very much okay, good morning, let's get started, right? I'm not really with the chit and the chat. But one of the things that I had to learn as a leader is that I work with humans. Right? Maybe a foregone conclusion, but we all work with humans. We work with other humans. And so what does it mean that when we say we work with other humans? It means that you have to learn how to be person-centered, right? You have to be person-centered. You cannot just be work-centered. You cannot just be, stakeholder-centered, student-centered, customer-centered. You have to be human-centered. You have to be people-centered. And so that means connecting with the person that you are working with, connecting with the entity that's in front of you, right? And so if you're working with Gen Z or Gen Alpha, and you're working with people in a younger generation, for example, as a millennial, you have to care about the whole person. You have to care about their grandmother passing. You have to care about their dog's anxiety. You have to care about the fact that they're a creative and they want a creative outlet at work, right? That doesn't mean that you have lower expectations. That doesn't mean that you don't hold them accountable. That doesn't mean that they have to talk about whatever else is going on in their life outside of work, all working hours of the day. It doesn't mean any of that. But it does mean as a leader, as a supervisor, you need to be able to engage them on that level. They need to be able to feel like they could share that with you, right? It doesn't mean that you have to hold space in your office like a therapist for 60 minutes while they cry about it once a week, right? But they need to know that they could trust you with that you would be willing to hold space for that you would be willing to give them time off for that they could, share that with you, right? In a way that, you wouldn't look at them differently. You wouldn't shame them. You wouldn't belittle them. You wouldn't think less of them, right? And so that is critical, right? When it comes to, being a millennial and leading Gen Z or Gen Alpha or younger generations, you need to be able to care about the whole person. And maybe, your great generation, didn't care about that, right? Like maybe the baby boomers, they don't care about that. They don't care about the whole person. They're just outcome focused, right? But if you're a millennial leading younger generations, they care about their whole selves and how that whole self is integrated into work. And so you need to care about that too. That's point number one. Care about the whole person. Point number two, don't take questions as disrespect. This is one of the biggest things that I think baby boomers get wrong about millennials, and that I think millennials, even though we know better, have gotten wrong about younger generations. And it's that questions are disrespect. And let me give you an example. I'll never forget, I had a mentee who was a baby boomer. And she was like, oh, I'm just, one of my staff members just gets on my nerves. He's just so annoying. He's just so disrespectful. He's just so disrespectful. And I was like, okay, like walk me through what he's doing. What behaviors is he displaying that cause you to say he's disrespectful? How is the disrespect manifesting in your work with him? And she was like, every time I ask him to do something, he's got a million questions. He's always got a million questions. I ask him to do something, he'd want to ask me about this and ask me about that. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Like she thinks that asking a question is disrespect, right? And I'm not a parent, but how many parents are in the room who can raise their hand and say, every time their kid asks them a question, you're like, stop asking me a whole bunch of questions. Go in there and do what I said to do, right? Right? Let me know if there's any parents in the room. Go ahead and gingerly raise your hands. Right? If you're watching this on replay and you're a parent, just put relatable in the comments. If every time your child asks you a question, you're like, don't ask me a question. Why you asking me a question? Just go do what I say to do, right? I know that this is certainly a way that I was raised by my baby boomer parents, right? And so we take this energy, like we take this same energy that maybe we got from our parents, that we got from our boomer bosses, and now we're relaying it on our Gen Z and Gen Alpha subordinates, right? We're relaying this on our staff. They ask us a question. They're just so disrespectful. Girl, he's not disrespectful. He's just trying to understand what you want him to do. He's just looking for a framework. He's just trying to understand where you're coming from. Questioning is not blatant disrespect, right? Miss Square Talent says relatable, right? Questioning is not blatant disrespect. Now, let me be clear. There are some people who stall by asking questions. Let me give you an example. You ask your staff to open a door at 3:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then they like, you want me to open it halfway, quarter way, 3/4 of the way? Girl, just for you to open the door. Like, sometimes people ask questions as a stalling tactic, right? They're just literally, well, I didn't really know what you wanted me to do. You ain't provide that many details. I said, open the door. How hard is open the door, right? Like, sometimes people want to play in your face, but most of the time people are asking questions for clarity, for direction, for additional support. And as a supervisor, as a leader, it's literally your job. It is literally your job to provide direction, clarity, support. Right? So don't be mad because people asking you questions. Sweet pea, perhaps you aren't clear. Perhaps you need to be more clear. Perhaps you need to be more structured. Perhaps you need to provide more instruction, more clarity, more focus, right? People wouldn't have so many questions if you were more clear, right? And don't be, this is why I just got to do it myself. That's why I just do it myself. Because I don't like to ask a whole bunch. You don't want to be a leader. You don't want to be a leader if you don't want to be asked questions. Pick a side. You want to lead people, or you want to do everything yourself, right? And I hope it's not do everything yourself, because you simply can't do everything yourself. At some point, you've got to delegate. So you need to be able to answer questions, right? So point number one, care about the whole person. Point number two, don't take questions as disrespect. These are strategies for millennials leading Gen Zers and Gen Alphas, right? We cannot take every question they ask us as disrespect. Okay? Strategy number 3, leave space for autonomy and creativity. Yes, it is your responsibility to provide direction. Yes, it is your responsibility to provide structure. Yes, it is your responsibility to provide frameworks and direction. But you have got to leave some space for creativity, for autonomy, for innovation, right? If you wanted a task rabbit, just hire a task rabbit. If you want somebody to follow a rubric, find somebody that you can hire for less and pay for less. Don't hire an expert. Don't hire a Gen Z expert, somebody who's a niche in this thing, and you're like, okay, do it exactly like this. No. Give them some autonomy. Give them space to be creative. Give them space to leverage their expertise in the work, right? Give them some space to leverage their expertise in the work. If you wanted a rubber stamp, don't hire a Gen Zer. Hire a boomer. I'm just joking. Right? But let's just think about providing autonomy and creative spaces for the generation for which we are leading, right? Y'all want to go off and y'all want to put on a job description, innovation and, creativity required, and then stamp out all of the creativity and all of the innovation in the people that you work with, right? Like, that's not good. And remember that creativity and autonomy sometimes may lead to mistakes. It may sometimes lead to failure. It may sometimes lead to things falling apart. You need to leave space for that too. Things can fall apart. Now, if you work in emergency management, if you work, for example, as a 911 operator, if you work, for example, in an emergency room, if you're a heart surgeon, very little room for error. Right? Very little room for error. But most of us are not working in life and literal death situations. So there should be room for creativity, autonomy, failure, disruption, like all of that should be available. Right? And so let's leave some autonomy and some creativity if we're working and leading Gen Zers and alpha folk. Okay. So that's 3. Care about the whole person. Strategy number 1 for millennials leading Gen Zers and alphas. Strategy number 2, don't take questions as disrespect. Just because somebody's asking you a question does not mean that they're disrespecting you. Questioning is not automatically disrespect. Of course, don't let nobody play in your face, but oftentimes people are asking for clarity. People are asking for additional direction. If they're asking so many questions, it probably means you weren't clear. Take that as an opportunity for you to get better, not as an opportunity to indict them. Strategy number 3, leave space for autonomy and creativity. If you're hiring a Gen Z, or if you're hiring a Gen Alpha person, this is a person who grew up with the advent of the internet. They always had Facebook. They grew up with a tablet. How do you expect them to want to use a paper form? They're going to be innovative. Get into it. I hope that's why you hire them, right? And then strategy number 4, invite them to secure mentors that are not you. I repeat, invite them to secure mentors that are not you. Oftentimes when we hire younger generations, we want them to do things in our likeness. Poor strategy. They are not you. Nor should they be. You already been there. You put your stamp on the work. Hopefully you hire them so that they can put their stamp on it. They don't need you to mentor them. I understand you want to mentor the next generation. I get it. But girl, they don't need you. Let them find a mentor on their own. Support that. Invite them to find a mentor. Ask them to meet with their mentor once they find them so you can learn what this person is teaching them and this person's perspective. But don't try to mentor every subordinate you have. Don't try to mentor every one of your staffs. Your job is to lead them. Your job is to supervise them. Your job is to provide direction and support to them. Your job doesn't also have to be to mentor them. Let them find a mentor on their own. Invite them into mentorship, but not yours. Invite them into the concept of mentorship. Encourage them to find mentors, but know that it does not have to be you. It does not have to be you. Okay. Mentorship is a powerful tool. It's one that I value, obviously, as a career strategist and mentor to many, many women. And I think that oftentimes millennials have benefited from mentorship And now they want to be the mentors for everybody else. Girl, back up, pause. You don't have to be everybody's mentor. Everybody don't need you. They might need somebody else. Let them go find somebody else. And if any of your Gen Zers or alphas are looking for mentorship, I'm accepting new mentees. But they may not need you, especially if you're their supervisor, right? Sometimes we need different perspectives. So attention millennials. This is for you. In order to be a good leader of younger generations, you must, number one, care about the whole person. Number two, don't take questions as disrespect. Number three, leave space for autonomy and creativity. And number four, invite younger generations into mentorship, even if it's not mentorship with you. It is critical that we are being good bosses and good supervisors. We're the bosses now. We're in charge now. We're leading teams now. Let's think about the ways in which we didn't appreciate older generations supervising and leading us, and let's not perpetuate some of the same bad behavior, right? Let's be better bosses and better leaders and better supervisors than the generations before us. Let's take what we learned from them, of course. Let's take the good strategies that we learned from them, but let's not perpetuate the bad ones. Let's be intentional about the kind of leaders that we are so that we can lead generations who not just walk in our footsteps, but that create pathways for their own. I'm Ashley. I'm the lead mentor with Mentor Me. If you were inspired by this conversation, if you want to be a better leader, if you want to be more intentional about being the kind of leader that inspires generations to come, then I invite you into mentorship. You can go right to my website at mentor-me.org. That's mentor-me.org to learn more about my executive coaching for mid-level and senior level professional women. If you're a millennial woman who needs some support in being a better leader, then the Mentor Me Mastermind might be a good fit for you. Again, you can learn more about it on my website at mentor-me.org. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.